Jesus wasn't just a spiritual teacher. He was humanity's first quantum physicist. These teachers are missing one thing, and that's why for a lot of you, manifestation is not working. You're just remembering that you and the universe are the exact same thing. The universe has the best BS detector in the world. Prayer isn't talking to God. Prayer is... What if I told you that Jesus gave us the exact formula for manifestation 2,000 years before The Secret was ever written? What if the most powerful manifestation technique on the planet isn't from some new age guru, but from a carpenter who understood quantum physics before quantum physics was even discovered? Guys, I want to break down Mark 11:24, the verse that Neville Goddard called the master key to reality creation. This verse, Mark 11:24, inspired every single New Thought teacher, and that's literally the blueprint behind every manifestation technique you've ever heard of. Jesus wasn't just a spiritual teacher. He was humanity's first quantum physicist. And Mark 11:24 is his formula for hacking reality itself. I'm your host, Jason Rigby. This is the HDL Podcast, your discerning guide to spirituality without the BS. Today, we're about to uncover and completely rewire how you think about prayer, manifestation, and even the power of your own consciousness. Most of what you've been taught about prayer is backwards. And most of what you've been taught about manifestation, I believe, is incomplete. When Jesus said in Mark 11:24, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. He wasn't giving religious advice. He was teaching a metaphysical law. The difference here, and I want you to pay attention, the difference between prayer and manifestation, there isn't one. Jesus just called it by a different name. So think about it. Every single manifestation teacher, from Napoleon Hill to Rhonda Byrne to Joe Dispenza, is essentially teaching the same thing. That's in Mark 11:24. But these teachers are missing one thing. They always talk about manifesting in the future tense, but Jesus taught manifestation in the past tense. And that's why for a lot of you, manifestation is not working. The Greek text in this verse, believe that you have received. That's past tense. Not will receive, not might receive, but have received. Jesus understood something about time and consciousness that we in 2025 are just starting to figure out. So now if you've been in manifestation circles, you've heard of Neville Goddard. This guy took Mark 11:24 and turned it into the most powerful manifestation system ever created. But here's what most people don't know about Neville. He didn't just study the verse, he lived it. And his technique of, he called it living in the end, is literally practicing Mark 11:24 every single day. Neville Goddard didn't create a new manifestation technique. He just remembered what Jesus actually taught. Isn't that crazy? Over 2,000 years ago, Jesus taught this. Here's Neville's secret. He understood that feeling is the actual secret. Not thinking, not visualizing, but feeling. Because when Jesus said, believe that you have received it, he was talking about the feeling of already having it. And I'm going to share something with you that's super important. Your feelings don't lie to the universe. When you feel it, you become it. And when you become it, you receive it. But here's where it really gets wild. Neville taught that when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you're not trying to get something from the universe. You're just remembering that you already are what you're seeking. I'm going to say that again. You're just remembering that you already are what you're seeking. Manifestation isn't about getting something you don't have. It's about remembering who you already are. And I know this is ancient wisdom. And for some of you, you're like, this was so 2,000 years ago. Neville Goddard was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, whatever it may be. I know what you're thinking. this sounds great, but is there any actual science behind this? And HDL Podcast, we talk about this all the time because we don't want to get into spiritual guru worship or get into taking people's whatever they think. You can go on YouTube and listen to spirituality podcasts and hear all kinds of crazy shit. Here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Quantum physics has discovered something called the observer effect. You can look it up. Type in observer effect. There's tons of papers on this. There's tons of videos that explain it, like legit science videos. It's called the observer effect. And it's the idea that consciousness literally changes reality at the quantum level. This is starting to sound familiar, isn't it? Jesus taught the observer effect 2,000 years ago, before scientists even discovered it. He just called it, get this, guys, this is going to rewire everything in your brain, especially if you've been religious for a lot of years. He just called it faith. The observer effect that scientists discovered is called faith. In quantum mechanics, there's this concept that all possibilities exist simultaneously until consciousness collapses them into reality. Jesus understood this when he said, believe that you have received it. In the quantum field of infinite possibility, your desire already exists. So faith, remember that word? Faith is just the GPS that helps you find it. I'm not saying Jesus was a quantum physicist, but awakened consciousness naturally understands how reality works. I'm going to say that again. Awakened consciousness naturally understands how reality works, regardless of the time period. And science keeps discovering what mystics have already known. Consciousness creates reality, not the other way around. So if this is so powerful, why isn't everyone manifesting like crazy? Why aren't you manifesting like crazy? Why isn't the world just manifesting? Here's what people completely miss when they look at Mark 11:24. And I'm going to give you 3 mistakes. First mistake, they think it's about getting stuff. Jesus taught this right after cursing a fig tree and clearing the temple. So if you go back and you read, you're going to see in Mark, he cursed a fig tree and he cleared a temple. This isn't about cosmic Amazon Prime. When you use Mark 11:24 to try to get stuff, you miss the point. When you use it to become who you're meant to be, you get everything. Second mistake, they try to believe with their minds instead of their hearts. Belief in and of itself is never intellectual. It's emotional. It's not about convincing yourself something is true. It's about feeling the truth of it in your bones. Because we know this through evolutionary psychology, your mind can lie, but your heart can't. That's why Jesus said, believe with your heart, because the heart doesn't know how to fake it. You've known when it's deeply come from that heart chakra, and you've felt that, and you've known when truth has been there. We all have. We know when we're faking it with the intellect, with the mind, with the ego, but the heart, it can't fake it. And I think third mistake here is with manifestation, they treat it like a spiritual hack instead of a way of being. Mark 11:24 isn't a technique you do. It's a type of consciousness, a higher consciousness that you embody. You don't practice Mark 11:24. You become Mark 11:24. All right, let's be even more practical, guys. How do we apply this in 2025? How can you apply this right now in your life? Because let's be real, most of us aren't trying to move mountains. We're just trying to move our lives a little bit, aren't we? So here's the key. Start with feeling, not wanting. I'm going to say that again because I want everyone, if you're driving and you're listening to this, or you've tuned me out and you're on your phone, I want you to, here's the key. Start with feeling, not wanting. The moment you're in wanting, you're telling the universe through scarcity that you don't have it. But when you're in feeling, you're confirming that you do. Your subconscious don't know the difference. Remember we talked about reality? So when you begin to feel those emotions, you're confirming that you do. You're sending that signal to the universe and putting you in that level of higher consciousness. It's the GPS. Remember the faith? Having that faith, having that feeling, put you in that GPS and put you on the right path. Because wanting pushes your desires away. Feeling with emotions pulls them towards you. The beautiful part about free will is you, in your emotional state, you get to choose. You can say, in my emotional state, my life depends on this because it does. I'm going to have a higher consciousness. I'm going to get into my heart chakra. I'm going to get into my feelings. I'm going to get past all these walls. A lot of you have built up tons of walls and tons of layers. The ego and the intellect does that to try to keep you safe because it doesn't understand. Millions of years of training doesn't get 2025. All it knows is there's a lion out to get you. And at any moment, that lion may come around the corner and try to eat you. And you need to survive. That's all it is. But that doesn't have anything to do at all with understanding who you are and what you are with the universe. So here's my challenge, and we're going to get a little bit more into this. Pick one thing you've been trying to manifest. Pick one thing. A lot of you guys will think of it right now. Stop asking for it. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to revolutionize the way that you manifest. Start thanking for it. Stop wanting it. Start feeling it. Stop seeking it. Start being it. The fastest way to manifest anything is to stop trying to manifest it and start being grateful that you already have it. But here's the part that might make you uncomfortable. This only works when you're aligned with your highest good. You can't manipulate universal law for selfish purposes. It doesn't work. It doesn't stick. The universe has the best BS detector in the world. It's your higher self. It only responds to authentic alignment, not clever manipulation. It's kind of like the parent that knows better. Here you are, 3, 4, 5 years old, and you want all the cake all the time until you throw up or until you're full. If you have a dog, some dogs will eat until they throw up. They don't know, or eat until they make themselves sick, right? So we, like the universe, has to see and say, nah, they're not ready for that. And that's what your higher self is doing. I'm doing a whole micro course on the higher self. So I encourage you guys to get that and listen to that. It's going to be a 5-part series on the higher self. And more links, we'll have that. We'll be putting on social media. That's why you guys need to subscribe to this channel. We're on Substack, Instagram, Facebook, HDL Podcast. It's really simple. So I encourage you to do that. Sign up for our email list. Mark 11:24 isn't ultimately about manifestation. We can think of it that way, and that helps us in our brain. But really what Mark 11:24, Jesus was saying, it's about remembering who you truly are. It's about recognizing that you're not separate from the creative power of the universe. That you, I'm going to say something here, you are the creative power of the universe. You're just having a human experience. You're not trying to get the universe to give you something. You're just remembering that you and the universe are the exact same thing. When Jesus said, believe that you have received it, he was pointing to the deepest truth of existence. He was pointing to that level of consciousness, that there is no separation between the desirer and the desired, the seeker and the sought, the prayer and the prayed to. And I'm going to change your perspective on prayer right now. Here we go. Prayer isn't talking to God. Prayer is God talking to itself through you. I'm going to say this again because I want you to understand this. If you need to, write this down and study this, because this little sentence is going to help you tremendously when it comes to prayer. Prayer isn't talking to God. Prayer is God talking to itself through you. This is why Mark 11:24 works. Not because you're convincing some external deity that looks like Little Mermaid's dad sitting on big throne with the big sphere. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not going to the dad and trying to be nice enough or good enough so that we can get stuff that we want, more materialistic things. It's because we're aligning with the creative intelligence that we already are. It's understanding that each of us were put here with gifts and abilities and desires. And those gifts, abilities, and desires, what make you be able to manifest in this world to create a better world. And you guys know this because you've been in your creative intelligence before. You've been in the flow, the higher self before. There's something that you've done in your life, no matter how shitty you may feel right now. There's something that you've done in your life where you felt amazing. and you knew that it was right and it aligned with you. That's what you're supposed to do, not consuming all the time. You're supposed to be creating all the time. And in prayer, we need to understand this. The miracle isn't that God answers your prayers. The miracle is that God is your prayers. Isn't that amazing? So here's my question for you. Are you ready to stop begging the universe? Are you ready to stop begging the universe for scraps and start owning your creative power? Who are you? Are you ready to stop treating Mark 11:24 like a religious verse and start using it? It is a reality conscious hacking formula, guys. Write out Mark 11:24, study it, put it in your pocket on a piece of paper, have it up on your mirror. You need to understand and know Mark 11:24. You have two choices right now. You can keep hoping the universe will save you, or remember that you are the universe saving itself. If this episode shifted something in you, do me a favor, share it, because there are people out there who need to hear this. There are people who've been praying for years and years, wondering why nothing's happening, why they haven't manifested anything. And they need to know it's not because God isn't listening. Do you know how many people have given up on God? Because they've prayed and prayed and prayed for years and nothing really happens. And it's like you're speaking a different language when you're doing that. The universe doesn't hear that. It's because they haven't spoke the language of creation. You need to understand your creative power, your creative intellect, who you are through the universe. And there is a language to that. And I want you to realize through this famous verse in Mark that Jesus taught, that your breakthrough isn't coming, that your breakthrough is here. All you have to do is feel it to see it. This has been HDL Podcast. Until next time, remember, you're not waiting for your life to begin. Your life is beginning right now, in this moment. Feel it, believe it, and watch reality reorganize itself around your faith.